Gary, you interviewing tons of people all the time. When did the last time somebody interviewed you?
Well, you're starting off with a good question. It's been a little while, probably a couple of years, anyways. But when I first kind of entered this crazy digital universe as part of my Forrest Gump journey into it, I did do a couple of interviews locally where I live about my crazy story.
Nice. Everybody like superheroes. It is, we all love them. Why did you name your show Superhero? And I think it's great to have a superheroes in cybersecurity.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I mean, the main reason that I decided to call our show the CyberHero Adventure Show is because over the last 4.5 or so years, I've been the beneficiary of listening and learning from some of the smartest people in the world. And I got that opportunity because of really the source of my superpower, which are conferences. And like, all of your audience, I went to a lot of conferences. I went to over 50 conferences in 3 years with the goal of listening and learning from the smartest people in the world about, cybersecurity. And one of the things I learned is that the only time you hear about hacking or cybersecurity is when the criminals win. And I thought, well, what about, guys like you, Evgeny, you unsung cyber heroes who toil in anonymity to keep us safe, at work and home, at school. Well, who says thank you to you? And I decided that's going to be my life's work as a small way of saying thank you for the help that I've received in my pivot from being a victim to becoming an advocate. And I happen to know that everyone has an inner child. And many of us like comics and superheroes, and we love to have fun and to play. But we work in an industry that's called fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD. So I said, I'm going to help pivot the industry from FUD to fun.
Nice. What was your favorite conference? And I say it was because I hope they're going to come back, but I mean the physical one.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question as well, because the very first conference I ever went to was done by the Wall Street Journal, and it was a very high level, CISO level, kind of conference. And I felt like Bambi, like having no idea what was going to happen. And so I sat in front, and there were some great speakers from the FBI, talking about forensics and things like that. And I decided at a break, when there was the time to ask questions, they put out to the audience. So I waited my turn. I was a little nervous, but when it was my turn, they said, can you stand up? Okay. So I stood up and I turned around to face the audience, away from the panelists. And I said, for the first time out loud, I said, folks, I'm the victim of a series of APT threats. I lost several $1 million and I need your help. And I sat down. Like you could hear a pin drop. Like, what? And I didn't have that plan, nothing. Well, as a result of that moment and that conference, a senior vice president from Samsung in cybersecurity came up to me. I started showing him some of the evidence that I had brought with me in a little notebook. And they were so interested in my case that they actually sent an engineer to my house to validate some of the things that I said, and then they actually gave me some equipment to test to see if it could help identify some of the criminal behavior, and it worked. So that was my favorite conference because it was my first.
Awesome. Talking about conferences, you guys at CyberHero Adventure decided to do your own mini conference, and I'm very eager to learn more and also tell our listeners where they can go and find information about it.
No, thanks so much for that, Evgeny. The motivation behind doing this was to find a way to kind of break through all the, millions of webinars and the virtual conferences and the giant, conventions that we were talking about, earlier, to provide a sort of the opposite experience so that it's intimate and high level networking where people have an opportunity in small groups to get to interact with one another and the thought leaders who give presentations. So what we're doing on June 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time, time is we're launching the first of monthly micro think tanks. And we call them micro because it's limited to the first 100 live people. We call them think tanks because we have, high-level thought leaders. And our content is going to be organized around CISA's critical infrastructures for all the reasons your audience knows. And the first one we're doing is in partnership with the IT Information Sharing and Analysis Center, the ISAC. Then we're going to be doing the next, and that's on the nexus between cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. During that event, the first 100 people will hear from 4 global thought leaders, important people, such as the technical advisor for the recent National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence report that was submitted to Congress, Michael Garris. We have Peter Jung, who's the president of the ITISAC, as well as a very important person over at BAE Systems. And we have Dr. Chase Cunningham, who's very well known in the industry and just a real life unsung hero. All these people are, by the way. And we have Herb Roblat, who's the chief data scientist for Mimecast. And so our format that makes it different, just to kind of wrap up, is we have a 20-minute micro keynote speech. Then people break out into 10 groups, and we're using a concept called wisdom of the crowd, on the idea that the crowd collectively has more wisdom about most things than any one of us. And so we'll work the issues, and then we'll create a series of white papers that people can have their names attached to it if they contribute, and a series of videos to disseminate this information globally. So that's what we're doing starting on June 17th.
Some people always see the end result. You're like, I just attend. People sometimes ask for money to attend. It's like, why do I need to pay money? Tell us how many villages or people there to build a village. What takes to build something like this? How many people? How many hours? How long you guys been thinking about this?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's always a team. And, one of the blessings of my work is I just listen and learn, from folks who are experts at what they do. And, again, people like you are defenders. You're the good people. You really want to help. And so we've been working on this for a couple of months. We have weekly meetings every Wednesday at 9 a.m. To discuss what are the priorities and how to go about convening great people. And what we're moving towards very quickly is the launch of the CyberHero Network. And that has 2 meanings. One is network in the sense of convening people in the way that I described, but it's also network like a CBS television, then also has different shows. And we're going to have a platform where podcasters like you and video people who want to have some assistance in amplifying their work through our distribution channels and things like that will be able to be part of our network. So it takes a lot of time and talent to create an experience like this, that's for sure.
This is very good information. Thank you very much. We'll post a link to people how to register and how to find more about the amazing work you do day by day, and also about what you guys are doing on June 17th. Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.